Hello, everybody! Hello and welcome to MangaPod. This is a weekly podcast in which we read all or part of a manga and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. Unfortunately, our lovely captain, my captain, Erin, is not here again. She has a cold, so be sure to go and tweet at her at Happily Erin. Tell her that you love her, that you're so sad she's not here, talking about vampires with us, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best to lead the charge. Yeah. Let's all introduce ourselves before we start actually discussing. I'm Dodger of Press Hard to Continue, and you might be on my Twitch channel right now. I'm very excited to talk about this manhwa today. Lou.
Nice. I'm Lou from Lou Talks Anime. I'm Team Valor. Get fucked otherwise. Bang.
Red or dead. Red or dead. That's
Oh,
right,
boy.
Lou. That's right, Lou. I knew I liked you.
I'm gonna get murdered in here. Man, I'm Team Mystic.
It's okay. We can be
just stepped into blood territory.
We can be Team Purple. It's okay. We can work together. Mother's Basement, our special lovely guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah. I'm Jeff Thu, resident professional shitbag of Mother's Basement. Which is a YouTube channel. I talk about anime openings and scenes and sometimes levels and stuff from video games. Very specific things. So sometimes it's nice to come on a podcast like this and talk about, in general, about a manga, or in this case, a manhwa.
Yeah. Cool. So today, guys, we read Untouchable, which is a manhwa or a Korean manga, and we read chapters 1 through 30 of it. The way that we normally like to do this show is you are currently in the spoiler-free section. We're not going to talk about any spoilers. We're not going to tell you anything that happens in this manga. What we are going to do is Jeff is going to give you a little summary, a spoiler-free summary of the manga, the manhwa. And then we're all going to tell you whether or not we liked it. We're going to tell you whether or not you should take a minute and read it, whether or not it's worth your time. And then we're going to slip into the spoiler section and discuss it more in depth. Do not spoil anybody on anything that happens in this manhwa before we hit spoiler section. I'm talking to you, chat. And once we get into the spoiler section, do not spoil anything that happens past chapter 30, because then we'll be super upset and you'll be a rotten bacon butt. And we'll remember. We'll never forget. All right. Jeff, would you like to read the summary?
Okay, so Sia Lee is a modern vampire who touches her human prey to absorb their energy instead of drinking their blood. Ever since she moved to her new room, she's gotten desperate to touch her cherished prey, who is also her neighbor, Jiho Shion. However, Jiho is someone who is afraid to touch. The story develops with Sia's attempts to overcome Jiho's misophobia and touch him. They keep writing touch in like scare quotes.
And touch him.
I love manhwa wikis because they've always got that like slightly broken English to them.
Love it. There's a side note. There's a diner that I go to that likes to put things in quotes that make no sense. Like, you can choose any meat you like. And we're like, what does that mean?
That's frightening.
Yeah, that's really weird. Are you going to just give me whatever you want? You can choose it, though. Great. Excellent. So now we're going to tell you whether or not we personally thought it was good. We won't spoil you on anything, but we'll just tell you whether or not we liked it. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Do it, Lou.
All right. It looks great. It was getting better as I continued reading. So later chapters, much better than the earlier chapters. But the entire time I was reading it, I was thinking of another manhwa called Sweet Guy, which is also about touching. And yeah, go read Sweet Guy.
Yeah,
if you're over 18.
Yeah, that's important. I was actually thinking the same thing. I was like, so this and Sweet Guy are the only manhwas I've really read. And I was just thinking, is this just like a thing where like Korean comics are all about touching people. Just because like this is two that I've read now where like a main plot point is magic glowy touch.
Right.
That makes a woman feel really good for specific reasons. Yeah, I'm gonna second that. By the way, if you haven't read Sweet Guy, it's about a guy who electrocutes his you know what, and then gets. Yeah, no, that's how
He
he
gets
gets
magic boner
This
powers.
ah
right?
gets
yeah,
magic
this
boner
seems
powers,
like
yeah.
a really sweet, really really sweet read.
It's actually really good, and the art, like, it's got a good sense of humor, and the art is
The art is as good as Tower of God.
yeah, it's on like prison school levels. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
But Untouchable.
we're not.
Would you recommend Untouchable, Jeff?
I would say if you feel like a shoujo manga romance type thing, and you don't mind things being a little super cliched, then yeah, it'll scratch that itch for you for sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had plenty of moments where I was really frustrated with the main character. But I did enjoy it. I thought that the humor was pretty funny, and I did think that it was very pretty. I would agree with Lou that I enjoyed the later chapters more, but I would overall recommend it, I think. Yeah. I can't recommend Sweet Guy. I've never read it, although it sounds like a trip.
Roger, it's your thing. You would fucking love Sweet Guy.
Great. I trust you, Lou. I trust you when you say that. Excellent. All right, guys. So it's time for us to slip on into the spoiler section. Again, do not spoil anything past chapter 30 because we have not read it yet. The people who are in chat don't want to be spoiled past chapter 30. Just keep it in. Our mods will purge if it appears that you are trying to spoil people on things. So yeah. You got 5 seconds to get out of here.
Go.
5, 4, 3. Side note, if you want to watch this VOD later, you can find it on youtube.com/happilyerin. 2, 1.
Jiho's God.
Who is who? I don't remember any of their names.
All right, Jiho is a germaphobe. Chicken.
Okay.
Chicken is God.
Chicken.
There we go.
Chicken is God.
Chicken. Yeah, I only remember their nicknames. Like, there's Chicken and Simba.
There's Chicken and Simba. Yeah.
And
then there's the guy that wants to whip his dick out. There's that guy.
Yes.
yeah, the male model character.
Yeah,
who's just,
Blondie.
like, constantly sexually harassing the main girl.
Dude, he went from like the fun eccentric best friend to a super creep. And I was like, how is this escalating so fast?
Like
alcohol.
At first, the first thing I thought when I saw his character model was I was like, this is a guy who I could see like being played by Vic Mignogna.
I don't know
then
who that is.
You don't know Vic Mignogna? He's Funimation dub voice actor.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, and then afterwards I was like, oh no, this guy's a little creepier than that.
Yeah. Basically, so like normally the way that we start as just like a jumping off point is what were your expectations of this manhwa, and how did it surprise you, or how did it wind up being exactly what you thought it was going to be?
Okay, well, when I saw the character designs, I guess I was like, okay, I expect a shoujo manga, like a typical Kimi ni Todoke, say I love you, what have you, just that sort of arc, except maybe not in high school because it's not from Japan, so maybe they won't set it in high school.
Right.
They didn't.
And they didn't.
Instead, they set it in what seems to be the typical setting for Korean stories, which is a somewhat upscale downtown apartment where conveniently the person who has a crush on somebody lives right next door to them.
That is like I feel like that happens way more in K-dramas and manhwa than it does in Japanese stuff. the like
Yeah.
next door neighbor who's so attractive.
See, I guess that's why it was weird and refreshing to me, because I don't watch K-dramas.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, this is completely different. I am unfamiliar with this.
right.
It was great.
Yeah, I don't really watch K-dramas either, but like I've dated people who watch a lot of K-dramas, so I've gotten like by proxy all of the stereotypes. And the only thing that this is missing is that the girl's not poor and the guy's not rich, because
Right.
that's like all K-drama. But yeah, what I expected was sort of shoujo manga stuff, and then as it started, and she's like, "Oh, I'm a vampire," I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe this could, be a little bit more interesting." And then I was like, "I touch people to absorb their energy. That's the
Right.
only thing that makes me a vampire." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's shoujo manga," and I got shoujo manga, but
Yeah.
with a bit of a Korean twist.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Lou? What were you expecting?
I was expecting to really dislike this, because just anything tied to vampires, as I don't know, it's just so overdone in media.
You're not a vampire fan?
I'm not a vampire fan.
Fair
So
enough.
it's just
I'm not a
I
zombie
expect-
fan, so I get it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I expected to really dislike it, and pleasantly surprised. Like, I am totally okay with this manga.
I didn't know, and I don't remember hearing this in the description. I didn't know that she was going to be a touch vampire. So like when it first started, I was like, all right, romance about vampires. Let's do this. I want to see how Korea tackles that. And then she was like, but we've evolved. We no longer need blood. We just need to touch people and then soak up their sweet, sweet energy. I was like, all right, great. So that I think for all of us immediately just made it fluffier, right? It was kind of a vampire sparkle in the sun situation where it was like, okay,
Yeah,
I don't
much.
take you nearly as seriously as a vampire anymore. But
And like all that happens when she goes out in sunlight is that she starts sneezing.
yeah,
So it's not even sparkling level of.
honestly, the thing that surprised me the most was how much I loved Chicken. That like Chicken was by far the most interesting, like best character to me. You know?
We should explain to chat. Chicken is what she calls the guy she has a crush on.
Yeah, the
Because
germaphobe.
because she wants to eat him, and he tastes better than other things. And the metaphor that she explains to her friends is, oh well, sometimes it's like, I want pork or I want beef, but you get that taste of chicken and you're just craving chicken,
And all you want is chicken. Yeah.
and so like that's and she has that metaphor for him, but she just keeps calling him that all the time.
He's even in her phone as Chicken.
Yeah, and I think she's in his phone as like housewarming or something like that. Like there was a
Is
joke
she?
made out of
Yeah.
that.
So
All right,
funny.
so let's talk about how they met, because in any romance story, that's always important. She
The
grabs
meet
his
cute.
junk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it started off in a very normal way where it was just like they just happened to bump into each other and they brushed hands and she was like, oh my God. Oh. And then tried to chase after him again. And then, touched his junk. So match made in heaven, really.
And even though it was over the pants, they had a child's head censor out the actual grabbing of the junk.
I thought that was funny too. I was like, mwah. Yeah. And I don't know. I think because we've read so many manga and manhwa where it's just a beautiful man who, especially after he's like, I have a stalker. I was like, oh, so he's going to be like a pop star or something like that. And he's just an asshole.
Yeah, it's just some guy.
Yeah, and they led you to believe that really hard. And I loved that he wasn't. He just like doesn't want to be touched. I just thought that was great.
Yeah, I like how they played up his phobia.
Yeah.
Like when I read the description, I expected it to be just like maybe a little emotional distance from everything, but no, he really wants to stay the fuck away from people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he'll name us like he'll name streptococcus like all the time. He's like, "Oh no, you got streptococcus on your hand. I don't want that on my doorknob."
Anytime he sees animals, he's like, rabies, rabies,
Yeah.
rabies.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Jesus, dude. I thought, yeah, that was so good when she passes out at his door and he pulls her in. I was like, what's going on right now? And then it just turned out that he was like, I didn't want you out there where somebody was going to call the cops and then people were going to want to be in my house. Like, I couldn't handle that.
And touch my door. And yeah, when she wakes up, she's just like blanketed in newspapers because he doesn't want her touching anything.
Speaking of just waking up, when he just wakes up and the first thing he does is he checks the waste bin.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering what exactly did he expect to find there?
I assume the condom.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I don't.
that makes
For
sense.
him, might have been something else. I don't know. It's like, well, surely if I was going to have sexual relations with a lady, I would have put down a paper sheet beforehand.
I'd wipe myself down like entirely in Purell before we even go into this stuff.
Right? Yeah, of course.
But yeah, like he was definitely, I think, the best part of the comic overall. Just he was the most interesting character. His backstory and everything was 10 times more interesting than anything that had to do with vampires.
Totally. And oh my god, all of her. Oh jeez, she was so frustrating to me because she like kept putting him in situations where I was like, this is not a good like this is not the way to do fuck. Like it just made me so angry. She was like, I'm just gonna like throw him into a situation where he's gonna have a panic attack and then see if I can touch him. That makes sense, right? And I was like, no, you dumb idiot, because we wind up in this situation where we care so much more about him than we do about her. Like fast. Like so fast. So seeing him just be like, I don't want to be here. I hate this. I'm having a panic attack. I need to leave. I'm like, please leave. Please leave. Please just go home. Like, oh my God.
Find somebody who's better for you than this crazy person. Because, like, oh, God, like, they set up the whole thing where he's like, oh, no, are you that stalker who's trying to touch me? Which is, I feel like something must have been lost in translation because the scans for this are very duangy. They're like, there's sentence structure is just off. So I feel like something might have been off when he was talking about his stalker, but then like it goes forward and it's just like, no, this show just or this comic just has awkward pacing. And it's just like, no, he's got a stalker. And then like a couple issues later, they randomly run into the stalker at the bookstore and Simba's like, yo, don't. And that's the end of that plot line.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. I was like, I feel like any other vampire that would have accidentally touched him would be just as voracious about trying to touch him all the time as she is. So the fact that she was like, back off, bitch. And this other girl was like, okay, bye forever. It's like, oh, well, that was solved easily, I suppose.
I don't know if she was a vampire or not. Like it's
she
like,
was.
What?
She was, because when Simba touched her, she was like, you're a vampire too. Like in her head. Oh. She was like,
I thought it was like, is she a vampire too? Is that what she thought?
Oh, I thought that it was like full on acknowledgement. Now I'm questioning it. Lou, do you remember?
Yeah, I'm on the fence. Not with you.
Shit.
Well.
High vote. Yeah, no, it was either way, like, yeah, it was weird, and she's never acknowledged again. She just kind of disappears. And that's like chapter 5. We got to chapter 30 and she didn't come up again. So I'm assuming she's never coming back.
I think the way they basically wrote her off was when Chicken basically said, "Oh yeah, well now you've replaced her."
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think
just because you did that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's everything that doesn't involve chicken, like directly, is just kind of, I don't want to say bad, just
sort of
basic and
flat.
uninteresting.
Yeah, I totally agree because Chicken was the one character where I expected a certain sort of person and he wound up being totally different, and we've gotten way more of an insight into like his life and what makes him tick. We had the whole chapter with him taking care of and getting really attached to the goldfish and then the goldfish dying. Like we had so many chapters that made us just want to take care of him and love him as a person. And we haven't gotten that with anybody else, including the main girl.
Well, because she's just supposed to be pants, you know?
Yeah,
She's just
she is
supposed
pants.
to be,
You're
yeah.
right. She's pants.
You wear her and then you get to, but I mean, it's a weird escapist fantasy in that
It's
sense.
a weird pair
because,
of pants to put on.
Yeah, it's a weird pair of pants to put on for sure, but it's also like a weird escapist fantasy because Chicken's likable and interesting, but he's not necessarily somebody who you'd want to bang, you know, because he's got like hang-ups. He's got really bad hang-ups that are like the
but that's the
focal point of his character.
But that's the fantasy here, right? Is like I can help
It's
him.
about fixing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can help him. I can be the one person who ever got to touch his bits, right?
But here's the
yeah.
thing. I think the story was thought up, and then after the fact, the guy that wrote it maybe retroactively decided to give her a personality.
Yeah.
Because normally in this type of story, the main character doesn't have much of a personality to speak of.
Right.
Yeah.
To make it easier for people to project themselves into that. Or
Mhm.
yeah.
In this, she's kind of like spoiled and entitled, and yeah.
Yeah, they use the whole excuse of, well, she's always been gorgeous. She's genetically just like predisposed to attract people and
Which all vampires are.
always.
Actually, the one interesting thing about the vampires that wasn't touched on at all is the fact that her dad is like a preacher, right?
Yeah.
And uses that to suck in prey. That's such an interesting like inversion, because instead of like the vampires being like afraid of crosses, they're like directly associated with all of that imagery, and it's like, no, we're just going to push that to the side.
I thought it
and
was
talk
different.
about modeling.
I thought that he was like a preacher for vampires to keep them from sucking out energy of other people.
No. He was running a church, and then he was like using the "everybody hold hands and praise Jesus" part of the service to like suck up people's life energy for his family.
Because I thought the whole thing was that he had come up with a way where they didn't need to use humans, but that doesn't make sense because she can't suck energy from other vampires, and we know that. So yeah.
And all vampires, yeah, it's weird and not very well fleshed out, but it's basically like, let's not make the main character of this romance story scary. God, what was that manga / anime about that vampire girl who like vomits blood at people all the time? The reverse vampire.
I was about to say Blood Plus. It's not that one.
No, it was Karen, I think.
She vomits
that's
blood at people? No, I don't think I've ever watched / read that.
She like has like horrible nosebleeds, and like the whole premise is she's a reverse vampire who generates blood.
Okay. Perfect.
But that was a much more like there's interesting ways to invert the whole vampire thing and make it interesting in a romance story. Mm-hmm. I don't think this did it at all.
No, because in this situation it was just, let's negate everything that makes her a vampire, but like still call her a vampire so that she's like dangerous and beautiful.
I think it was just to give an excuse to have the manga be called Untouchable.
Yeah. Oh God. This is like a small complaint, but the typography of the title just bugs the crap out of me.
I love it. It's so silly. I love it.
Untouchable.
All right, how do you guys feel about about Dumb Blonde and his sweet slave boy. Because that's how they came across to me.
Yeah. I like the sweet slave boy a lot more.
Me too.
Yep.
I'm like,
Dumb
you need
blonde
to...
can go fuck himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sweet
I'm
slave
not
boy needs
okay.
to get out of there.
I don't know, dude. It's just whenever he got drunk, like it was a little funny at first. Like the whole, hey, I'm gonna whip out my dick and it has two forearms. You wanna
Right.
see them both? Which one?
Yeah.
He's just seeing how he obsesses over her and how he got involved in the texting with Chicken and how that complicated matters for her.
I think
I don't know. He's kind of a douche.
I think the
Yeah.
moment where I stopped, where I was like, I don't really like you, was when it was revealed that he like goes behind her back and gets all of the photos that are taken of her.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
I was like, that's fucking weird, dude. Like that's super
Yeah.
weird.
That's like straight up just stalker behavior.
Yeah.
Interesting how many stalkers are in this.
I
In this
know,
comic.
right? So weird.
One thing that was interesting to me about it was the manhwa format, because I don't read a lot of those, right? Like really just Sweet Guy, which again, read Sweet Guy. Sweet Guy's great.
Love to.
But yeah, the manhwa format is a little. It's very different from manga because it's like I think it's built for web primarily, right? So like they're very conscious of layout, and like as you scroll down through the page, like they use big gaps to create like space and time, and maybe they'll use like they'll have like a perspective shot, and then they'll like frame another thing that the character's looking at around that shot. Yeah, it's interesting and it's different, but I don't feel like this took as good advantage of it of that format as it could have, compared to, again, the only one that other one that I've read. It just, I don't know, a lot of it felt a little flat in terms of how it was drawn, especially because it's got all those terrible CGI backgrounds.
I kind of love, like, those feel so distinctly manhwa to me that they've found a special place in my heart. But I know when we first started reading Tower of God, I was like, the way this is colored is so weird.
I like it, if anything, as a change of pace from what we read weekly, you know?
That's true.
Like that, I think, is where having a feature that helps define stylistically from between manga and manhwa, I think, I guess helps set the tone. Because I expect certain things when I read manga, and now having read some manhwa, like it feels very different. So my expectations are different, and what I expect to see from the culture manifest in the media is different.
What did you guys think of his interaction with his mom when they finally met each other?
That was touching-ish.
I felt like it needed to be dragged out more. Like I wanted to see more rage from him.
Yeah.
Like the whole, like, him being upset about being abandoned should have been an entire chapter.
Yeah.
As opposed to just a couple panels and then moving on to the resolution.
And then him
because
like, cool, we're good now.
Yeah, it's the crux of his character. Like this is the emotional point of his character, and the linchpin to who he is as a person and why he's developed all these problems.
Yeah.
So seeing it resolve so quickly and just like, okay, I still don't want to be touched, but whatever, thanks.
Yeah, that was like, that should have been more of a climax than it was. I agree. Like, I went into chapter 29 because that's when it starts. I went into that expecting like, okay, this is going to be like a multi-part thing because they built it up for like 4 or 5 chapters that this is what she's setting up, and you know, they had all of that build up, and then it just kind of ends, and then it's on to chapter 30, which is just setting up more stuff, and it wasn't as good of a branch, a place to end for us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just the start of a new story arc, and it's like, oh, okay. Chapter 29 was kind of the end of most of the things.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything we haven't touched on. Like, it's been pretty linear so far.
There's not a lot to the story to really talk about, I don't think. Like, it's got a very small cast of characters, and the story itself is very straightforward. It's actually kind of simple, and they probably could have finished what we got to in half as many chapters, but it's really slow and then really rushed in other places.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with Lou in that the moments that I wanted to take longer and have more impact were the moments about him and, you know, work like if the story is going to be about him working through all of this stuff, it can't be as simple as they made it seem in that chapter, you know. It like cheapened it in a weird way where I was like, so
I totally get where you're coming from. One thing that I think would have helped more is if there would have been more pages in the book, like in the book that his mother wrote, and we would have gotten like to see that play out and maybe go do more to develop his character.
Yeah,
I mean? Because there's a last page and we haven't seen the last page, and like what's the point of this story, you know?
Yeah,
we kind of skipped a couple pages too, like because she sent him 2 at once, and I don't think we've seen those yet, have we? I'm trying to remember if they showed the 2 pages that she.
Now that you mention it, I don't think so.
I don't think they did.
So they kind of like glossed over that, and I thought that was going to be like a framing device, and I'm like,
Me
okay,
too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we reached the end of this level of the video game. You get this as a reward or whatever, and it's like, no, it just kind of skips over it, and then it gets to chapter 30, which made me scream a little internally because of stupid characters acting stupid.
Right.
When it's like, no, I can't give you the book because then you won't have any reason to talk to me anymore. And then she just shuts the door instead of like.
And then goes to another country. It's like, oh man, it really sucks that I lost my phone. I'm like,
oh god,
what?
That was definitely the voice of the author coming through. Just like, nope, we're stretching this out.
Yeah. I need a new story arc. Hold on, while I send my main character to another country for a chapter.
Yeah, that's the editor coming in being like, hey, we're making money on this. Don't stop.
Yeah.
I want him to have a new goldfish.
Yeah, me too. Or like upgrade to like a still sanitary pet that is maybe a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I actually want out of this? I just want to write out Simba as a character entirely. And
just have her disappear and then
just have a manhwa about Siho, is that his? Yeah,
chicken.
About chicken just raising a succession of pets. You know, just like getting okay with
I would read the fuck out of that.
Doesn't need vampires. God damn it. Vampires ruin everything.
See, I'm not the only one that thinks that.
As a person who loves vampires, I was not satisfied with the vampires of this story. I would routinely forget that vampires existed in this story. So...
If you want better Korean vampires, go read Noblesse.
Yeah.
And, God, the whole way that it's set up, the vampire thing, it's just like, you wouldn't know that she's supposed to be a vampire at all unless they hit you over the head with it, with that first line of dialogue where those 2 teenagers are like, oh, look at that girl. She's so pretty and pale.
Like
it's almost
a vampire.
Like, who would say that in 2016, right? Like, come on.
Oh, it's so silly. Yeah. I feel you. And despite, it's funny because I feel like this entire spoiler section, we've been like, here's everything wrong with this manhwa. But I still would say that I enjoyed it, despite how much was wrong with it. But the reason I enjoyed it was because of Chicken, because Chicken was such a good character.
Yeah,
so.
And they focus on him enough that it works, but like right now where I'm at is I don't think I keep reading it.
Yeah. I feel you.
Especially since he got to that closure with his mom, and it's like, well, they didn't do that well. I don't expect them to do the rest of it well.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about the art overall?
For the most part, I enjoyed it. There were a few panels where the eyes were drawn oddly, like specifically in the beginning. Like you could tell that the artist was getting a feel for the designs and wasn't really comfortable with them.
Yeah.
But as it progressed, I feel like everything really cleaned up, and I don't know. I liked it. I liked the choice. I liked the color palette. It felt very in line with kind of like the shoujo sappy style tone of the piece, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And I like the designs, and yeah, it's basically it. Like I think it looks pretty good. I think if it didn't look as good as it did, I would not have enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think the art feels very shoujo, which is totally fine given how the story played out. But yeah, I liked the use of color in it. I thought that it was really pretty.
Yeah, the soft watercolor and sort of sketchy thin lines, it definitely works to its advantage. Yeah, I thought it was very pretty overall, even if there was a bit of like jank to the character designs initially, like how the anatomy was a little off in some places, but it's small complaints compared to the colors were really nice. The one thing that did bother me, especially when they went to like very small, limited use locations that they never go back to, is that sometimes the CGI renders for the backgrounds were just they look cheap, you know, like they had obvious aliasing on them, or it was just like that's just a box, that's literally just a cube with some lines on it.
Yeah.
Or how they'll occasionally throw in like a Gaussian blur over the background just to help mask some of the imperfections.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, it definitely shows like the lines of its budget or whatever. Like you can sort of see behind the scenes and see that. But I think for what it is, it looks pretty. How often does this come out? Would be my question.
I don't know.
No clue.
Yeah. Because if it's like a weekly thing, a lot of these comics are weekly or bi-weekly. And if that's the case, then it looks really impressive for that kind of time schedule.
Cool. Is there anything else you guys would like to touch on? If not, we can wrap up and give final thoughts and ratings on this guy.
I liked the part where he was assaulted by bunnies.
That was pretty. The zoo chapter was the best part. I think we can all agree there.
The zoo chapter was pretty great.
Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to mention the bunnies. It was pretty adorable.
Yeah, it was
hilarious.
He was pretty cute.
Yeah. Precious snowflake must be protected at all costs. Hugo Troito in chat said that it's a weekly manhwa. It's released weekly.
Okay, then then the art is very impressive for that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, guys. Then let's like try to come up with a rating. How would you rate this? After our discussion, would you still recommend it?
I want to go first.
Do it, Lou.
Okay.
All right. So, going into this discussion, I had a number in my mind, and that number was 6.5 because I felt that it did well enough with its visuals to recommend.
Mm-hmm.
The story was lacking, but usually it wouldn't be very difficult to find a similar story that looked way worse.
Right.
So, and I know plenty of people that would get enough out of this type of story. So I was like, all right, 6.5. And then every fucking flaw was pointed out to me. All of them.
Literally all of them, yeah.
And my score dropped a little bit. So the correct number, the accurate number that I'm going to assign to Untouchable is a solid 5.
All right.
Out of 10.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's probably what I'd give it to, honestly. I might go to like a 4.5. But I would say I'd recommend this to people who are really looking for their shoujo manga fix.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'd recommend it, I'd say like even 5, because it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna look because I love chicken so much. I'm gonna give it a 5.5. But I'm in the same boat as you, Lou. I was like, I'm thinking about a 6. I think a 6 is right around. You know, I really, really liked one character. I thought it was pretty, but, you know.
That's your chicken bias showing, Dodger.
I know, my chicken bias is coming out, but I'm gonna give it a 5.5. I thought it was cute, but it just felt like, cheap isn't the right word, but it felt, there wasn't enough depth to it considering the sort of things that it's trying to touch on. Mm-hmm. And that bothered me a lot. So, yeah. Lou, do you happen to have the summary up for the manga next week?
Oh, yeah.
You do? Yes! God, Lou, thank God.
Team.
Thank God. Teamwork. Together we make one Aaron. Cool. Guys, thank you so much for watching MangaPod. We are now going to read you a summary for the manga that we're going to read next week. Omitting some words. Leaving some blanks in there so that you guys get to guess what manga it's going to be. All right?
It's a pretty obscure one, guys.
It is.
So good luck trying to guess
just like, pay a lot of attention.
Okay. Blank, a former mercenary known as the Blank, is out for revenge. After a tumultuous childhood, he finally finds someone he respects and believes he can trust, only to have everything fall apart when this person takes away everything important to Blank for the purpose of fulfilling his own desires. Now marked for death, Blank condemned to a fate in which he is relentlessly pursued by demonic beings. It's basically that. Yeah.
Duckwork got it.
Anime list, guys.
Yeah. Duckwork got it immediately. Berserk is what we are going to be reading. Lou, what chapters are we reading, or what volumes?
I'm not that prepared, Dodger.
It's volume
very much overestimate me.
It's volume 15 through something, I'm pretty sure.
15 through 18, chapters 105 through 140, with special guest. Say it, Dodger.
Octopimp! Yay!
Yay!
If you would like to watch the MangaPods from the previous times we have read Berserk, you can go ahead and find them on youtube.com/happily-Aaron, along with all of the other MangaPods that we've ever done. I'm sure she would love it if you would go and watch those. Also, if you would just check out her YouTube channel in general, she does lots of anime stuff. She's got an adorable baby. She does mental health awareness stuff, and she's just generally lovely and our sweet MangaPod captain. So go and show Erin some love. Tell her that we missed her and wish her good health. I'm Dodger. You might be on my Twitch channel right now, twitch.tv/dexteritybonus. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find my YouTube channel at youtube.com/pressRToncontinue, and all the social medias are at dexbonus, DEXBONUS. Lou?
I'm always impressed by how you nail that, Dodger.
I have to say it a lot because I'm on co-optional podcast too.
Okay. I'm Lou from Lou Talks Anime. You can find me at youtube.com/Lou Talks Anime now. I think so. I think that's the URL because it's been a while since I've really made anything. I'm sorry, guys. But I'm working on things. Things are in production. I'm just not satisfied with the quality of work that I've been putting out. But my personal issues aside, we can talk on Twitter. Lutox Anime, Ask FM Lutox Anime, Instagram Lutox Anime, and yeah, that's basically everything. So hit me up and let's talk about this weeb shit.
Yeah.
Team Valor.
And I am Jeff Thu, professional shitbag. You can find me at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/MothersBasementReviews. If you really want to help me out, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/MothersBasement. And you can follow me on Twitter at G0FFTHEW. I have to spell that out because I made my Twitter before I was thinking about actually telling people about it. So yeah, that's me. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for being here. You were great.
Thanks for guesting, man.
And thank
you're actually
chat.
You're the third procrastinator to guest on this show.
Oh boy, maybe one day you'll get all of us and
the whole set.
Guy is actually scheduled later in the year.
Oh, cool. So will he be the fourth?
Yes.
Okay, so you've had
Digi and Jess.
Okay, cool. So all the anime guys. All right, cool. And okay, thank you, chat, for watching. I am Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for watching MangaPod. Tune in next Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, if you would like to watch any of the past VODs, you can find them at youtube.com/happily_Aaron. And yeah, let's read some Berserk and talk about all the stuff next week. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
It's gonna be lit, fam.
It's going to be so lit.